Well, next year we can do a joint Kung Fu Rager. ShuiJiao for everybody.
Warming up around the base. As your bodies wake up, you can increase the size of the circles a little bit. Two more. Good, changing direction. Again, start with smaller circles. As you loosen up, you can gradually increase the size of the circle. And two more. Good. Stepping out to the side, belly heat pressure on the back, keeping the spine straight. Chest comes forward and pulling the chest back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bringing the hands to the center for more challenge. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then behind the ears. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 2 more, 19, and 20. Good, same base with the hands on the hips. Chest rolls forward, bringing the hip forward and the shoulder back. Twist and stretch, and then back down. Good, side to side. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and last one, 10. Narrowing the stance a little bit, feet just beyond shoulder width, pushing into the ground as we sink, pushing to lift. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good, widening that stance a little bit. Back straight, if you can manage back straight and also flush with the ground. Slight bend in the knees as we slowly twist and reach. Back across. And 3, 4, 5. Feeling the hips gently roll. 6. Keeping that back straight. 7, 8. 2 more. 9, 10. Good, narrowing that stance. The hands on the hips. Again, the feet a little wider than shoulder width. Roll around that base. If you feel nice and loose, you can add in that body drop. 2 more. Good, returning to that more vertical stance. Rolling and opening up the other side. Make sure you're hitting each part of the foot as you roll. Excellent. Once the coordination feels good, you can add in the bigger movement. As you add in that body drop, make sure you're still rolling all the way around the feet and also not locking out your knees. Keep going. And 2 more. Good, bringing the feet together, the hands on top of the knees, rolling that base. And just as in that last exercise, take time to think of going, make sure you're going all the way around your feet. The middle. Back to the middle, and forward, around, and back. Good. You good, Fritz? Okay. And 2 more. Good. Shake it out. With the right foot forward, 30 arm circles back. Send the little finger turns to lead. And count on your own. Try to feel the blood pool in your hands and fingertips. Good. Changing arms. Again, little finger leads. Good. Lacing the fingers, pushing the heels into the ground as the fingers stretch up, opening the spine as we stretch, pushing both the ceiling and the floor away from your middle. Good. Drawing the hands in, pushing the back, and the palms front. Excellent. Reaching to the side, raising the leg, and bringing the head to the ground, touch, and push, touch, 2, and 5, 3, 4, 5. Changing sides. Again, reaching, raising that far leg. And 1, 2, keep going, 3, good, 4, 5. Get back into vertical. Shaking out the arms. Watching me for a second. One hand braces between the floor of my body. Other hand pushes straight down. So if I'm squatting on the ground like this, I'm reaching the outside, bending my elbow, putting my body on the arm. Inside hand goes between the feet. Watching first. And I lift. So again, the forearm is the bridge between the palm and the elbow, supporting my whole structure, okay? We're gonna try rolling back and forth for a couple of these. All right, so again, one hand on the outside of the knee, one hand On the inside of the knee, I lean. And in the beginning, I can touch my knee on the ground. I bring the far knee on top of the elbow. And when the balance feels good, I take the knee that's on the ground and try to lift it and set it back down. Lift it and set it back down. Try that twice on that side. Good, and back to the middle. And I can't quite see Karen. There you go. Joanna. Excellent. And off the other side, same thing. See how the side we lean towards, the knee comes down to give me lots of support. The hand comes right between my knees. From here, I bring that far knee on top of my elbow. And then I take that knee that's on the ground, lift and set, lift and set. Good, Joanna. Good, Kara. Good, Kara. Good. So, Kara, watch me. Kara. The key is you want the arm bracing between the two sides.
Oh, I was missing that.
So see, I'm here. There's the arm acting as a bridge. Here's that hand between the knees. Stack and raise.
I'm having a little trouble telling what you mean by the hand between the knees.
Gotcha. So Karen, I'm here. Side and between. So now as I lean, the hand that was between the knees has the knee rest on top of it. So I'm kind of collapsing to the side.
Okay, I think that looks easier than what I was trying to do. That's good.
Give it a try.
Okay, so
Good, Chris.
I'm not sure I caught it well enough to do it without you,
It's okay.
without somebody
Go ahead.
watch.
So here, so everyone watch me for a second. That's great, Joanna. That's awesome. That's awesome. So watching me for a second, here's the drill we're building up towards. Lean to center. Lean to center. So see how I reach to the side, and again, at the beginning, I can drop that knee. My elbow's touching my torso. I can stack the far knee on the elbow and kind of pump that bottom leg up and down like this. And then as I get more comfortable, I can just roll right into this two-hand hold. Good, stack the knee there, Karen, and lift that bottom knee up briefly. That's it, that's great.
I have enough room, like my arm isn't long enough to keep me away, far enough away from the floor.
Your head to gently touch the floor if you need to.
Okay.
Okay, watch me. You can be here, and that's fine. As you get stronger, you'll find that balance point right in the middle.
Okay.
Everyone try one more each side.
My like,
Okay, Craig.
my like basing a wrist is just like done.
Easy, you need to. Good.
I'll let those at a lower stroke risk do this.
Totally fair. We're just gonna do like a little bits of this in the start of our class for warm up. Good. Good, Joanna. Good, Karen. That's it. Very nice, Karen. Good. Now everyone watch me for a second. So we're only gonna do a couple of these today, but as we move forward, eventually what we're gonna get into is playing with just some very, very light capoeira hand balancing training. We're not gonna do a lot of it, just a little bit of it kind of mixed in to work on building our stability for upper bodies. Good, Chris. Any questions on the mechanic of the hold before I move on?
Well, I think maybe just like trying to start with the knee on the ground, it feels like my knee's almost kind of in my way.
Right. Right. And that's okay in the beginning. So if you watch, see if I can, where's gallery view? There it is. So we go from a side view. You see, here's that knee on the ground, right? I stack the leg up. And then from here, I try to pull with my abs, raise the knee, touch the feet, and back down. Raise, touch, and back down.
Oh, right. Okay. So your knee isn't stacked. You're not stacking up on your knee. You're like kind of swung to the side a little bit.
Right.
Like if I'm stacked up on my knee, then I can't get my elbow connected in there, right?
Here, that far leg, here we go, is still stacked, but that bottom leg is entirely free.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Good. And Carol, how are those wrists?
Doing okay. I think I just need to do more like knee push-ups or something to just get them
into place.
Open.
And knuckle push-ups my favorite for that.
Yeah, knuckle push-ups, yeah.
Good, everyone, shake it out. We don't overdo it today. That movement's called Keita Jahins, which translates as kidney stand. It's one of the more awesome transitions in Capoeira because, again, it just builds up really nifty stabilization strength. It's a nice adjunct to a lot of the pushing work we do in ShuiJiao and push hands. Just helps you better link into your body and feel your body react to that pressure. Let's do some leg opening. There's stopwatch. All right. Starting with one hip, externally rotating. The core work in Capoeira is just so much fun. Good, switching legs, external rotation.
Thank you so much. Okay. It's you too.
And from here, rolling into our figure eights. Take your time. Feel your body rounding each foot. Start with that very gentle foot grab, pulling from leg to leg. The umbilicus draws towards the spine. Good. As each of you feel more able, try sinking down just a little into that stance so you can really feel the pelvis trace that figure eight.
Do you want your time?
Sure. Thank you. Zigola. The clavicles knit and the head neck raises. Good. Shake it out for a second. The other direction, we're going to stack some fun stuff on top of that. All right, starting here with that first leg, this time internal rotation. Good. Focusing entirely rounding that base and changing feet. From here, rolling into our figure eights, rounding one foot into the next, keeping that umbilical connection, using that pull of the ground, space for the heart, that clavicle knit, and that raising of the head neck.
Mama? Mama.
Good, shake it out. We're going to our straight leg raise. Pushing into the ground with the feet as we sink, raising up, pulling the heel forward, pulling the toes back, pushing into that brace foot as the foot raises back to down. Okay, let's go for 10 of those. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shake it out. So this is a fist. Notice how the hand is flush with the forearm. I don't want angle up or the angle down. This breaks wrist bones. This breaks wrist bones. I want to line up the first two knuckles with the radius and ulna, the long bones of the forearm. As I do so, I also want to have a nice compressed structure to strike with, but I'm not trying to collapse in and make a death grip. This creates a bludgeon. I'm going to damage every joint along the way as I hit with it. I want to squeeze in. So as I squeeze in, the knuckles touch the crease of my hand, and I roll in, and the finger wraps the first two knuckles. Now the fun part from here, I then open the hand a little into that shape and stretch in to the dorsum into the back of my hand. So I squeeze to create the shape and then stretch to fill that shape. And that filling creates space in my wrist, space in my hand. So now when I hit, it's like there's a little bit of a cushion in the hand to hit with. So I'm not just striking bone on bone with absolutely no space in between to compress. Does that make sense? Yeah? Cool. So again, straight wrist, squeeze to form, open to fill. And notice how the four knuckles, again, side view here, are about as flush as they can be. The reason is, when I'm boxing, if I'm bare knuckle, I might hit here if I'm lucky. My partner might also dodge, and I might hit here if I'm unlucky. If I don't have support in the lower knuckles, they're gonna break every time and give you boxer fractures. When you hit trees, it's almost always with these three knuckles, not the first two. These two take care of themselves. These three need the building and support. Does that kind of make sense, the quick little wrist lecture and hand lecture? Cool. Any questions? Awesome. So let's play with these fists a little bit. We're going to use the base of our external rotation as our start form. And notice how, if you watch just one hand, the hand and foot cross, hand and foot cross, hand and hip cross, hand and hip cross. Hand goes in, hip goes out, hip goes in, hand goes out, okay? Play with that coordination on one side first, then play on the other. And take your time, cross to cross. The cross is really important. It's like there's a post here, the hip and the shoulder are pushing on opposite sides of that post, and as they click through, that's the action potential for the strike. We're not going to strike here, we strike off that transition of out to in and in to out, okay? That passing of the hand is symbolic for the opening and then closing of the qua. Qua opens, qua closes. Any Fa-Li strike is predicated on that opening or closing of the hip. So in the beginning, you can do this kind of a hinge thing, right? So I'm not rolling at all, just turn, 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 turn. Once that timing feels good, then you can round it out into that full roll in both the hip and shoulder, okay? Give that a try on this side a few times at your own pace. Keep playing with that roll. Good, and Craig, trust your elbows a little less, Craig. Get side view easier for you to see. See how I'm not hinging too much at the elbow. There's a bend to the elbow, but that's what the Chinese would call yuanda, a circle-like bend, right? And that circle begins at the back, rounding all the way through to the arm, as opposed to hinging at the elbow, blocking up, blocking. I want that roll to come ideally from my spine and make its way all the way through to my fingertips. Again, there can be varying degrees of arc, but it's always ever an arc, not a hinge. Does that make sense? Cool. Much better, Craig. Good, Caro. Caro, take your time. Make sure each of those passes is smooth and feels comfortable in your belly. Good, Joanna. Slow it down just a little bit, Joanna. Try to feel that movement rolling through your stomach, even though it's the hips and the hands that are most visible. It's that roll of the belly that links the timing in between those two extremities. There you go. Good, Joanna. Good yawn, Karen.
I already did a belly dance class before this, so.
Nice. Kate and I had a semi-private capoeira class before this. It was awesome.
Oh, cool. Is that because not many other people showed up? Yeah, my belly dance class, I was one of 2 students, so yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. That's looking good, Karen. Now, Karen, as you roll from this belly. The belly rolls, the hands and hip rolls. The belly rolls, the hand and hip rolls. Good. And Chris, arcing a little less right at the pectoralis minor insertion in the elbow. Try to feel the hip roll counter to the arm. There you go. Think you're stirring a very gentle wave on the top of some water. There, that's it. Good. You want this flow to hit your spine, hit your stomach if possible. Very nice, everyone. And let's change sides. So same thing. Cross, cross, right? Hip goes out, hand comes in. Hip comes in, hand goes out. The other hand can either rest off on the side or it can balance gently on the hip, whatever feels most comfy for you. Good, keep going at your own pace. Much better, Craig. That elbow's getting much more in line. Nice job. They're hard to control. They want to point. That's looking great, Joanna. Nice focus on the middle. Very good, Karen. Excellent, Chris. Everyone do a few more seconds of this. And as you do, start to work on rounding out the movement, making it smooth. Remember one of the many old adages, slow, not broken, fast, not sloppy. As I slow it down more and more, you see there's still a constant arc between my hip and shoulders. Nothing's waiting and stopping for the other structure, right? Everything's moving together. It's kind of hard to see this, you're moving quickly. Good, 10 more seconds on that, then we're gonna do both sides together. Then we'll add in our punch. Very good. So now, when starting on this, it can be hard to keep all 4 pass points in mind, right? The high, high, low, low. So instead, focus on either the high or the low with the figure 8 in the hips. If that high is getting hit each time, it's a good bet you're at least almost in line for that low, right? And that way we have to think about so much stuff. So again, hips and that high pass. Hip pushes out, hand pushes in. Hip pushes out, hand pushes in. And once you can maintain that without much worry or thought, then you can start checking in to make sure that lower pass has the same kind of attention to detail. Notice how when I clear the bottom, I'm moving the palm of my hand, pushing outward. The bottom is still very active, right? I'm not just dropping the hand out. There's active clearing on both the upper and the lower part of this roll.
The shiny on your shirt actually helps us see what your belly is doing in this case.
I will endeavor to dress more shiny then. It's my natural state anyway. Good, everyone keep rolling with that. Good, Chris. There's a little bit too much hinge action in your hip and not enough roll, but the coordination is spot on, Chris. So from there, slow it down. Focus on that roll of the hips, while loosely maintaining the coordination of your hands. There you go. And then from there, extend back out to focusing more on the limbs, but keep that roll there first. That's it. See how I'm slowly pulling into and around each hip. There you go. Very nice, Chris. That's a good pace for you. Very good, Caro. Keep that stretch of those fingertips. The hand's looking nice. The back is looking very good, Caro. Good. And as you slow down a little bit, Caro, focus on that belly roll. Make sure that cross to side, each cross, or the hip to hand cross, is felt just a little bit in your stomach. Good, Craig. Slow down the upper part of your arc a little, Craig, and make sure that upper part is in time with that lower. You want to be going slow enough and connected enough that were you to encounter another structure in their arm or something, it wouldn't change how your body wants to roll. It wouldn't be a reverb off of that hit. You would just find the opening and push through. Does that make sense? Excellent. If it becomes ballistic, you've lost that off-rooting quality of the movement. Very good, Joanna. It's coming along very nicely. Good, Karen. Roll to roll. Good. Everyone shake it out for just a moment. We'll play this more in a second. So as I mentioned before, every time there's a cross of the hip joint, that opening and closing can propel energy up that can become a strike, right? And the trajectory of fa li is that grab in the ground, engages and pulls up the legs. The opening and closing of the inguinal or qua accelerates that movement, driving it into the belly, which is that felt sensation we have in that roll. From there, it finds an angle, shoots out, and that's the fa li. It's a movement that begins in the feet and is a very set line of force up, through, and out. That coil to release, what we would call a 7-star movement, taken from the movement in the shape of the Big Dipper. There's the pan to the pan handle. It's like a satellite slingshotting around a planet. There's that close orbit, and then that escape velocity out. That same principle is everywhere in Chuan Gong Fu movements. You round a thing, create that spring, and then from there, things pop out and through. So the way we're going to utilize that now is off of one of the more simple techniques, though it still isn't easy. We're going to turn this roll into a striking pattern, okay? Without losing the quality of the roll, and that's the tricky part. It's very easy to throw punches. It's more challenging to throw a punch that can immediately become soft again after. Does that make sense? Yeah? So we're going to start nice and slow. We're not going to add much pop to the hip yet. We're going to go just in the morphology of the shape, and then add in the breath and the snap. So as we begin with that externally rotating roll we've all been doing, it's the hand traveling high and in that's going to form the punch. And it's going to begin just on my right side, your left side. As I roll, this now takes the shape of a fist and then rolls right back to palms. I find that shape of the fist, rolling to palms. Fist to roll. Fist to roll. And notice how as that hip turns out, that's when that fist comes in. The right hip is, my right hip's turned in. As it crosses out, that's when I be making contact. Paying attention to that crisscross of hip and hand on all of your left sides as the hip goes from in to out and the hand goes from out to in. That's our very first strike. My hand is open and loose as it passes my hip low. I form that fist on the way up. The fist is completed at that point of passing. And then the fist immediately melts back in the hand. The palm morphs to fist, fist to strike, fist to relaxed palm. So see how there's a very relaxed cadence. You can, if I really exaggerate it, you can see that whip as that hand comes around. Let's try 5 more on that side at your own pace. Very nice, Craig. Good, Chris. That's the idea, Joanna and Karen. Good. And there it is, Carol. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so now back to that melted hands. We're now going to bring in the fist on all of your right sides. Again, as that right hip goes from in to out and crosses the shoulder, that's the hit. And then back to roll, to hit, to roll, to hit. And just keep it smooth for right now. Slowing it down. That same pull that's drawing the palm through draws the fist through. Nothing changes in terms of the muscular engagement on the punching arm, except for the shape of the hand. Good, keep going. Good, 2 more. All right, now for the tricky part, and This sounds really dumb, but what we're looking for are the corners on the circle, okay? The point when the hip clicks, and finding that feeling even in a constant arc. Remember, there are movements we play with where I go for my figure 8 and then go to drill, and I'm breaking my circle explicitly, turning into a new shape that can then carry somewhere else. This is different. This is a strike out of a recycled movement. So we don't have that convenience of that solid break point in the stance. What we have is that in the hips. Okay, so you watch me for a second. I'm gonna be striking with this hand. There's a strike potential there, strike potential there as that hip turns. I'm not drilling it. I'm just paying attention to that point where the hip turns from out to in and in to out. If I add the strike to this, there's the loop to hit. And you can see how it's the exact same movement. I'm just rolling through, rolling through. So let's take a second, hands in the hips. Yes, Joanna, is there a question? I think your froze. So from here, roll to in, roll to out. Good. Roll, 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 roll. Feel that pop of the hip rounding to rounding. And then the hands, and now as I slow it down, there's the roll to pop, roll to pop, roll to pop, roll to pop. Slow down. So see how there's the coil through here, there's the acceleration through that turn, and then a stop as the turn stops. Coil, accelerate to stop. Coil, accelerating through that hip to stop. Coil, accelerating to stop. Watching me, I'll do just this side. Coil, accelerate, turn. Coil, hip begins to roll out as the hand and hip pass. I move through that turn, but notice how I'm not reaching beyond that. As much as my hip turns, my arm can turn. Rolling to turn. Rolling to turn. And in the middle of that, I can just add in a couple of rolls just to get things nice and smooth, relax my body again, and then once more, there's that roll to turn. Roll to turn. Keep going. There you go, Chris. So Chris, part you're doing so well is the hand and the hip are stopping at the same point. And that can see that roll beginning and ending clearly in your belly. That's great. Good, Craig. So Craig, as you hit, watching me, see how the hip and the hand stop at the exact same point? There's that constant roll, and then the acceleration, pop, right back into that roll, rolling, the hip and the shoulder cross, there's the hit, back around and through. There you go, nice, Craig. Good, Caro. Good, Joanna. Good for Karen, you and I. The hips turning in, and as that hip turns out, pop. There's the hand coming in, good. The hip rolls, your punching hip turns in, and now as that punching hip turns out, pop. Good. So the actual striking range is just there, right? But it has the whip of all of this coil behind it, so I'm actually punching off the hip. Even the shoulder only really comes into play as a guide, those last few degrees of movement. It's the coil from that belly that whips things around. There you go, Karen. Very nice. Very nice. Everyone do 4 more at your own pace. We're going to talk about this for a second, then break it down to the other side for just a moment. Good, Joanna. As you hit, pulling with the knuckles of your fist, so there's a little bit of that stretch through. Good. Shake it out for a second. Any questions so far? All right. Nice. It's looking good. It's looking good. The hardest part of Fa Li is building that power and keeping it focused and not letting it disperse all over. It's an acceleration, which means it has to go from structure to structure. And the danger is, if it hits a structure from the wrong angle, it can be worst case injurious. That's not likely at our phase. Much more common, it's going to go off in the wrong direction and not get focused all the way to the hand, right? So much more. If you watch how I'm rolling, you see how there's that pull from the feet. That's first. The opening and closing of the hip is there. That's right in line. The belly draw is there, it's not sacrificed my spine. As I do this, and I roll the hip, it's like I'm sort of throwing the arm off of the hip, right? If there's a constant roll, the arm just gets thrown and follows this loop. The way I add that power to it and that spark of, kind of focus is through the breath. As I draw through, here's my inhale. As I exhale, everything rolls. And as the exhale stops, the movement stops. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So that punch, that breath allows that diaphragm to draw into my belly and connect everything rolling through into that hit. This is a very common Bagua strike for close range work. You'll get a punch that comes in, rolling through, and then off to the side as the fist lands right into the side there. It's a wonderful hit because it takes your primary defense, your body off center. You have a secondary defense of that kind of wide swath clearing press. That press powers the hit and everything rolls through, okay? So we're gonna try that step, try to make more sense of it, and get back to standing to the other side. So watching me, I'm gonna step out to your right, pressing in with that right hand. Okay, let's try it together. Step and press. Step and press. Good, everyone's got that. That was pretty easy. Now watching me, step, press, and now as I pull that other hip in, the other hand rolls through, boom, and rolls in as that back leg drags up just a little. Good. So step, press, and that press becomes a pull into my stomach. I'm pulling my belly up with this hand. And from there, the other arm whips around and finds its target. Good. Again, the feet together. Step, press. Roll to belly as you drag the other hand up. Compressing that back foot in a little as that back hand swoops through to the strike. And notice how that last little bit, my front hand dropped as my back hand came in because the hands are still connected. That same coil that we have here is also right there. Okay, let's try that again together. Step to press. Continue that press as an arcing pull into your belly to pull the other hand up and over as your foot draws in for your strike. Good. One more.
Getting that bottom hand engaged really helps make the top hand make more sense.
The bottom hand is everything. And real quick tangent there and close in work, there'll be times where you come in for a strike, that strike gets blocked, that pressure down rolls the belly and becomes the other strike. Just side to side, right like that, because the hands always have that very nifty integral relationship. They're always dependent on each other. Okay?
So someone wants to interfere with your strike, they actually should target your other hand?
In some ways, yeah. Your shoulders. Like the shoulder is a great place to target. They're going to nullify everything. You've got to get close enough to do that, and that's tricky. It's like
I'm just thinking that, you know, when you're attacking, you're going to be thinking about that dominant hand, and like your other hand is actually like you could mess up that whole dynamic from the blind spot, basically.
Right, like in Sanda, if you go in, you're flicking towards that shoulder, right? And then you can just turn in and everything else kind of follows. but you're nullifying that whole kind of half of their defensive grid before you move in, or else you're the victim of it, right? And so you want to make sure you're always kind of taking apart their center as you're moving forward.
Okay, thanks.
And so again, as we step to press, that round step pulls that back hip in, and the other hand is rolling off that back hip. The back leg draws in to close that range because here is just a little too far away to commit to that opponent. Again, step to press, pulling your hip and then the back leg up for your strike. Good. One more time this side together. Step to press, roll to pull to strike. Good. Try a couple on your own. Step to press, roll to pull to strike. Good, Karen. Good, Caro. Very nice, Chris. That's it. Good, Craig. Craig, a little more of a press down with that low hand. So, there you go. Yeah, that roll of the palm carry through your middle. Good. Very good, Craig. There you go, Craig. Much better. That's the idea, Joanna. Now from there, 1, 2, 3. Good. Big setup. 1, drawing the body into play. 2, follow through for the strike on 3. There you go. That way you get your own way less as you go in for that punch. Very nice. Good, Karen. Now, Karen, keep that clavicle knit and that belly draw so that as you draw in, you're not sacrificing your base postural principles. That's it. Very good. Feel that difference?
Yeah, I feel how the bottom hand helps me turn on my lower belly.
Yes, exactly. The top hands are the tracking stars. Those bottom hands are where you build that Dantian connection. I couldn't roll my Dantian at all until I began playing right about here.
Cool.
Yeah. But again, you need the sensitivity you build from that big circle to even make this coordinated, right? So this really is where it all starts. And then Zhang Ti Li, Dragon Stirs Earth gets smaller. And then from here, all the strikes become much more compact and even look more like boxing because you don't need that big circle to create them. This is just that first step.
Cool.
Good. Couple more on the side. Very nice. Shake that out. Let's try the other side just for fun for a minute or two here, and we'll do some kicks. So again, we have our roll, hips externally rotating. We now have a better understanding of what that low hand does. Now as your low hand comes through, feel how it's pulling that waist, allowing that punch to have its trajectory with your raised right hand for all of you. Rolling, the right hip fist begins to form, the hip turn brings the fist in. Hand relaxes, fist begins to form, hip turn creates the strike. Hands are both relaxed, fist forms as it passes the leg, whipping to the targeting area. Roll to throw. Roll to throw. Good. Keep playing with that. We're back. Hey. How's it going? I'm in the middle of teaching, but go to the basement. Come on. Oh, yeah. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's good to see you. That's true. Yeah, I can see you. Feeling that roll, turning to the fist, rolling that fist up top. Good. Playing with that at your own pace for a few moments. Very, very good, Joanna. Good, Caro. And Caro, as you roll with that, keep that space in your chest, especially with the wrist weights. You want to make sure that everything's coming from your back, so you're not putting any extra strain on your joints. So wrist weights is even more important. Let everything come from that kind of central movement, okay? Because anything jarring is going to have the added acceleration of those weights on your hand. There you go. That's the idea, Karen. Good. Good, Chris. Very, very nice, Craig. Okay. So now, Stepping out to the side, right? We have, as we step out, our pressing hand, right? That hand rolls in, carrying the back hand through. So breaking that down nice and slow. Step to press, pull to turn to pop. Good, and back. Step to press, pull to turn to hit. Good. With me a couple more times. Step to press, pull to turn to hit. Good. One last time with me. Step, press, pull. So like Karen was saying, so you're pulling yourself with that rope, and as you draw that rope in, the hand rolls right over. Hey Fritz, can I borrow you? Okay, I'll borrow Fritz a second until everyone keep playing with this. And here she is. Hey Fritz. So if Fritz throws a punch out towards me and pulls it, that first hand as I step is clearing me off center. So again, I move my body to the side, the other hand's rolling under, and then arcs right through around and in. So again, the hand comes into punch, there's the roll, and there's the strike. See how my body's off center? If we're here, if you punch in, there's that roll, and there's that pursuit. See how, as I draw down, it's drawing her in towards me. So I'm not just pushing, let's punch out, pretend. I'm not just pushing and keeping her here, I'm pulling her in with that down strike. I'm drawing her in towards the fist. So if you catch this just fine,
That
right?
kind of stings.
I'm sorry, can I kiss?
It's time to look.
You did awesome, thank you, thank you. So as you draw in, if you catch them just right off of their jab, you're gonna pull them off center and they're gonna stumble right into your fist that's coming in. And this is move over straight, they're coming in, they're aggressive, you catch, boom, you're offline, they're walking right into your hand. Make sense? Yeah, lovely, lovely little hook technique. Again, it doesn't telegraph as much as the Western boxing hook. It draws them into your center. They target you, you move, there's that punch. Any questions so far? You've all doing great with this. So I wanted to add this in today. We've been doing so much work with external rotation and the coiling that goes along with it. Just to help break the board with playing with this, it's nice to know that every so often, you just kind of roll along, there's your strike, go right back into your roll, there's your strike, stepping through with it. You start playing with this roll into the actual beginning of striking patterns. And then once this feels good, I'll show you all the Sanda 5-step striking combo, which is where all of Sanda combinations begin. And then from there, things get real fun. Sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. Any questions before we do kicks? Good, Joanna. Again, Joanna, making sure the hip and the hand stop at the same point. That concentration of movement, everything focuses with that crisscross of in to out and out to in. Again, as you push that door, the door clicks. Push that door, the door clicks. That's the idea. Yeah, and that timing just takes some practice, but it's coming really well. Okay, let's do our outside crescents with squat, and then we'll do our slow side kicks. Sound good? So as we begin, pushing it before we do our squat, remember, raising the toe, pushing the heel, pulling the foot across, pulling the foot out, pulling the foot across, pulling the foot to the outside. Good. Play with just that ankle pull to get a baseline, just 2 or 3 times. And now from here, start adding in the push in with that brace leg. See how that changes your stability as you actively engage the ground. Very nice. And then adding in that draw down the paraspinals into the glutes of the kicking leg to add even more oomph and stability to your movement. And try just a couple of those. Awesome. Let's do 10 of those, the squat. And E. R. San. Si. Wu. Liu. Qi. Ba. Jiu. Shi. Good. Stepping back. Turning the front foot out just a little. Raising the toes of that back foot as you step across and ever so slightly in front. Keep that belly draw as you roll. Using that roll to raise your leg. Pivot with that roll to press, extending out from the hip, pulling in from the hip as we turn around and back. Good. Turning the toes out of that front leg, lifting the toes of the back foot as you step across, landing just a little in front. Drilling into that leg. If I'm on a side, you see how my body's rolling into that front hip before I ever raise that back leg. I'm rolling, following that roll to lift. Following that roll to turn. The same roll as the extension. Feel that stretch at the top of my glute. Pulling the hip back in. Right back to standing. Okay? Trying that again. Nice and slow. Watch all of you. Toes raised. Let's go to our walls. Actually, before we do the walls, real quick, watching me. So now from here, step, twist, kick, and back. Step, twist, kick, and back. Try this 1 or 2 spinning side kicks, a bit more speed, see how it feels. Nice, Chris. Good, Craig. Pushing out to the heel, Craig, rooting as you kick. Good, Joanna. Good, Karen. Use the twist, Karen. So as you come through, watch me. Following that kind of feel, step, use that heel drop. There you go. Push and back. So watch my foot. Watch the heel drop as I kick. Heel drop, kick, pivot back. Turn, heel drop to kick, pivot back. There, that heel drop helps you time it out. Very nice.
Thank you, that was good.
Good, Joanna, very good. Breathe out as you kick. That's it, very nice. Your breath will stabilize you. Good. One more, Caro. Awesome, Caro. Nice and smooth those ankle weights. Everyone's doing a beautiful job with these. Let's do our waltz kicks. We'll call it good. So the hand on the wall, leg raises, drawing back, and 1. To back. 2. Back. 3. Back. 4. Back. 5. 5, we go down, up, and then bobbing 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. Changing sides. Same thing, the foot's back. And forward to kick, and 1. Kicking again, 2. 3, 4, and for 5, bobbing 5 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and back. And shake it out. Nicely done, everybody. Nicely done. Any questions before we close out? Good hard work, all of you, and nice job trying the capoeira stuff. I know it's very, very foreign, especially for your Gong Fu base, but it adds such a neat dimension of movement and balance. So if you incorporate just little pieces of it, it'll help you to better understand how your body moves in some really fun and nifty ways. And so again, we're never going to transfer to full-on capoeira class in the mornings unless there's a vote to do that someday. I'll just bring in little pieces here and there so you all kind of see, how things like the kidney stand can build stability through your back and ribs to better move and close range movement, just little things like that. Sound good?
Yeah, it makes sense for circle.
Yeah.
That back ability.
Yeah. Totally. It all fits together. Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you all so much for coming. Any quick questions before we close, or are we good?
Wait, and the 10th?
Right.
What's that?
The 10th is coming up on Thursday. That's when you need help with class, right?
Oh, all right, so real quick on that. I have my 6 weekly eye checkup on the 10th, so I won't be here. But there was a request for class to continue, and I'm happy that all of you do that. So I will pass off the keys to it to, I'll send out a text to everyone who's usually here, so one of you can open it up and get started. And just, when you're teaching, I would love to see is everyone just kind of taking turns. Think of 1 or 2 things that you'd like to go over. Just, one thing, kind of round robin. Maybe like starting off with the warm-ups we always do and sort of building from there. And ask each other questions, learn from each other. If there are questions that come up that U6 or U5 can't answer, depending on who's here, those are great things to ask me when I come back. So play with fun stuff, struggle through, write down the problems, and we'll use those problems to become our stuff that we're going to play with.
Yeah, that's awesome because basically there's 2 things that show your gaps in your knowledge. One is trying to do it on your own, and the other is trying to guide someone else through doing it.
Exactly, and teaching really is my favorite way of figuring out what you don't know, which is super useful.
So Kate's gonna host the call, and we just are all on it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in case this baby stuff gets stalled, I'll send out the link to all of you, so there'll be redundancy in case you can't get it set up.
Thanks for being willing to let us still have class on your Zoom, even though you're not here. I think that's great.
Oh, of course. We were all working hard, and Chris, Craig, and Caro have been here for years and years, and Karen, you already know a bunch of stuff to share, and Joanna's picking up really quick. So, play. It should be play.
It would have just been me practicing alone in the park as I usually do. So,
all right, everybody, I'm gonna go chase the kids around.
Bye-bye. Good luck with the needle in your eye.
God.
Oh, you have to get a needle in your eye for this?
Not anymore.
Oh, goody.
Yay.
Goody.
I do have a surgery coming up, but that depends on when the fluid in my retina is finally gone, which may be this week and maybe in 6 months.
Damn, awesome.
That'll be the last major operation.
What? That's amazing, Joey.
Yeah. So it's possible I'll have as good as 20/30 vision when this is all over. And before they were thinking, blind in both eyes. So I will totally take that.
Is 2030
Wow.
is 2030 worse than 2020?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It means that things that are 10 feet closer look like it's 1 degree worse. It's 1 line worse on the optometry test.
Oh, okay.
But
Congratulations.
my eye was at 2200 when I started the new meds. Like, it was virtually useless and uncorrectable. And so it would be 20/30 uncorrectable, but 20/30 is good enough. Like, you can see just fine with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for you. I'm sure you're going to recover. I'm sure things are going to work out. So.
If this is where it maxes out, I'll still be fine with it. Like, I'm not wearing the eye patch anymore. And though I do kind of miss that look, it does feel better too.